Yo,
What's
yo.
going on, guys? Another episode of Save the Date. I'm one of your hosts, Heath.
What's good, everybody? It's Jamie, aka J.O. the Pro, and I ain't got to
Getting
tell
it.
you what it is, because you already know.
I was going to say, getting it in for show.
Yeah.
Guys, check us out. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube at Save the Date now. And that's just important to say. We're keeping it, just 100, back with another episode about dating and connection. And today's episode is, are you dating for entertainment or are you dating for connection?
It sounds like a simple question.
It does sound like a simple question, because I think so much of what we think about entertainment is, I'm bored, let me have some fun. But I think there's also a form of entertainment that is about satisfying or gratifying our idiosyncratic needs for attention. Scratching an itch, so to speak. So you're lonely, so I start talking, getting active. I'm bored, so I start reaching out and trying to connect.
Or you're hungry.
Mm-hmm.
You start looking for these foodie dates.
Yeah. And so the entertainment isn't just pure entertainment of the self of like, I went out and I told her myself and entertaining myself with a date. The entertainment could also be a way of, like I just said, satisfying the desires of your psychological, I want to say neuroses, but psychological exploits or interests or addictions.
Yeah.
And I think when you say you're dating for the connection, people who are dating for connection are really willing to serve and be of service to those who they're partnered with. You and I offline were talking about a pastor's wife that we've known for many years, maybe over 20 years now, and the integral role she had in building up his businesses. He had a business. He was a business manager for a very famous NBA player from the 90s, and also other businesses he's had over the years, their ministry. He went to prison many years ago in the beginning of their relationship. She held him down for 4 years. They were in debt. They got out of $70K in debt in 2 years. I mean, they just had an incredible life together. They have 2 children. One plays basketball overseas. Another one just became a lawyer, an attorney here in New York City. And they've just done amazing, groundbreaking work together. And when I think of someone of service, I think of her. I mean, I can think of some men as well, but I definitely think of her. There's a gentleman I know whose wife just passed away, actually, unfortunately. And he really loved his wife, worshiped the ground she walked on, and was just a man who really wanted to see the best for her and with her, no matter what he did. So I've definitely seen some examples in my day and my time of men and women who are of service. And so their idea of dating was about connection, because connection was about service and service was about long-term commitment. That was the context they saw their service. So let's get it right into this episode, because we have a couple of questions that we just want to contemplate and discuss for ourselves. And, for you and for us and for everyone listening, what is the difference between bringing your best self and performing a character? Because I got a lot to say about this. I just had a conversation with one of my friends about this.
Yeah. I mean, listen, bro, I feel like a lot of us have been conditioned to perform.
Mm-hmm.
That's the culture that we're baptized into. It's like, I've heard a lot of my guy friends throughout the years, hey, man, can you let me hold blase blah, because I'm trying to take this chick out and impress her. And it's like, well, if you don't have, why are you trying to take her there and impress her? Now, listen, they may have been asking so they can bring their best self to this. But I think the fact that you don't have and you're going out of your way to try to impress, to me, that's performance.
Oh, I agree.
Even if you may have the heart of wanting to impress them because you really like them and you want to make a great impression, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I think the performance part of it is what gets people in trouble. Because even if it's not, you asking for money or you pricing yourself out of dates, it could be like you said, somebody's LODing or lying about what they have to
LOD.
To make themselves look better than what they are or where they are, make their circumstances look better. And I know me, I've been guilty of this before. Like, I actually really feel like I'm more nerdy than I let on.
Trey.
And like, there's definitely been times when I've been on dates trying to be too cool for school and,
Yes,
acting like I'm the high school football star. You know what I'm saying? When I'm really just a nerdy guy who doesn't have much to say a lot of the times, and I'm more observant than anything. I could be socially awkward just being in other people's space. So yeah, man, I think there are different ways that you can bring your best self, or I would say that the difference is, I don't know. I mean, I think that varies from person to person, but I just know that there are a lot of us performing. There's a lot of characters out here a lot of representatives out here. I mean, I think that's part of what a lot of people have been lamenting over the last few decades. I mean, at least the last 2 decades that I've been, at least in the dating market, I've just seen a lot of people complain about the performance and the characters and people acting like something that they're not, pretending to be something that they're not, or trying to hide something that is clear that you are.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I just had this conversation, like I mentioned, and to your point about performances, we talked about sex. So you get in a relationship, you start having sex. Sex is great, and the sex starts to trail off. The sex starts to trail off, and the sex trails off. And you would think that someone's going to say, hey, it's because of this. Let's problem solve. Let's fix this intimacy issue. But what happens is some people know in order to keep somebody on the front end, they will go through the rigmarole of presenting themselves like a freak or someone who just has the bedroom game down, has the bedroom game on their mind, knows that they want to position themselves for the highest expression of crazy bedroom antics. And, they're swinging from the chandelier, they're on the trapeze, they're on the tightrope, and they are showing you their best and brightest at all times when it comes to that level of expression, only to find out once the high fades, the romance goes toward the transformation, and people start to deal with who they are and the characters they are portraying, truth behind those characters, all of a sudden you see a drop or a dip in the intimacy because you never wanted to do that in the first place. I've seen this happen with guys, right? We're going to the museum, we're going to the Met, I'm taking you out, I'm talking about getting opera tickets, but you don't like opera. You spell Met with 2 Z's and 1 L. You are not into any of the quote unquote high culture items, high culture experiences she's into. And it's fine if you're not and you go to support and be of service, but you're only doing it because you're trying to seal the deal. Even after you beat, maybe you're just trying to get someone's affection or attention at a certain level that means something to you where you can start to draw down on it. And then once you've drawn down enough or sufficiently where you think you got it on lock, all of a sudden, you want to go to the Metropolitan Museum of Art? Nah, man, we've been there so many times. You want to try this new photography museum? Nah, man. Well, let's go overseas. Let's go to Vancouver. You want to check out this joint over here in Vancouver, the opera? Nah, man. It's nah, man, because guess what? You was never really into what she was into. You were just performing and showing up as a character to seal the deal, to get whatever you wanted out of her. And we see this time and time again, how performance becomes the ultimate display of control from you to another person, from one partner to the next. Because it's control in the sense that you are controlling the narrative of who you are, and thereby influencing their narrative of you and what the relationship is, and most importantly, what it could be. So that person has a false narrative, and they're starting to build a reality on a false narrative, thinking that, well, if it's this, then we can have that, and if we have that, then we can have this, and we become the people we need to do, to do the things we need to do to have the things we want. And I can see us vision casting almost 15, 20 years out of now, and this is what we're going to be. But, you never really had a budget, for example. You never were really into financial literacy. You was into literacy of that ass. And once you got that person hemmed up and connected, man or woman, because it happens on both sides, next thing you know, you're controlling them, then you're trying to convince them. Next thing you know, you done had 2 or 3 years of trying to drag them to these financial literacy events because they said they wanted to get a house with you, only to find out they'll get a house if you get it. But they're never trying to do it with you because they don't have the chutzpah nor the inclination to do what they need to do to become who they need to become to get the things they want, or they say they want. Because it was all about the performance, just about being with you for whatever their ultimate gain was. You're mute.
Yeah, I was going to say, to go back to the question, I think to me that's the biggest difference between bringing your best self and performing a character is when the self that you bring is genuine and authentic. And it's not just about this agenda that you might have to either make someone stay, to get those legs open, to make them pay for something. You know what I mean? I think the best self is the one that comes sincerely. It's not trying to get something from you by, opening up and vulnerably showing you who I am. To me, I mean, that's the ultimate best self is the one that I am when no one's watching. The one that I am when I'm by myself, the one that I am the most consistently.
and the one that I'm struggling to understand, because we all have inconsistencies and contradictions, but being truthful about where I'm at and what I'm struggling with and how I'm failing forward, hopefully, is actually the person I want to reveal to you. So I may not like going on hikes, but I'll go on hikes to serve you because I want you to feel comfortable with yourself with hikes. That's a different statement than, yeah, I'll be hiking.
And as soon as I
Hitchhike,
get
actually. Yeah, hitchhike, thumb out. You know what I'm saying? My man Bruce Banner at the end of the Incredible Hulk show in the 70s. That was me. And then as soon as you get whatever you want, all of a sudden, hey, you want to go hiking this weekend? I really don't really be doing it like that, man, honestly, because for me, just a 6-pack, a little bit of a brewski, the game, that's good enough for me.
Then it looks like a bait and switch.
And that's what drives the resentment.
Yeah.
Through the roof. It goes up and down like the Dow, homie. And I think that's a kind of a gateway to the openings, right? The openings of how you meet somebody, the first couple of dates. And me and you've talked about this. When are actions, impressive, quote unquote, actions, genuine versus when are they just dating theater?
When they're just gestures.
They're just gestures. And you've talked a lot about this because you've talked about in the context of, women to men, hey, pay my bills. And you're like, yo, for some men, paying bills ain't nothing. Now, they're not innately generous and they're not innately thinking collaboration and sharing. What they're thinking is, I pay bills anyway, and I was willing to pay this, but I have an agenda of how I'm going to strategically deploy capital in this relationship to convince you I'm a person, or slowly psychologically tether you to my agenda so that once I got you in this grip, this anaconda grip, you're going to start to feel the pressure of me playing games, giving and taking, creating tensions where there should be peace, surfacing issues when there really should be nothing to surface because we're hanging out and just enjoying each other. But I'm always stoking the fires of disagreement and making you feel that just like it happened so quickly, I could take it away that quickly. And so there are things that everyone does in their dating life or expectations that you think if they're checking them off, you think they're being genuine. For them, it just may be theater. And that's where the tricky part is, because everything's up for grabs. Going to the movies, paying for $1,000 dinners, getaway trips over the weekend. All these are great opportunities, from the movies to the getaways. But it's about who is sponsoring and talking about the movies and taking you there, and who is sponsoring and talking about the getaways. Because if the person has a corrupt mind, and meaning a mind that's all about themselves, self-aggrandizement, and they're masking that to show that they're about togetherness, well then, what do you think is going to happen sooner rather than later? The shoe's going to drop, and you're going to find out this person is just a character.
Hello, Meg Thee Stallion and Klay Thompson.
You think so?
Yeah, I hate to bring up that scenario, that situation, but like I talked about with them, I think that's a clear picture of how gestures can be just gestures.
Yes, the house, the boat,
I see bringing you around the family for Thanksgiving. All of those things that
for some people mean something.
It plays on someone's heartstrings, and they're like, "Oh wow, this person thinks enough of me to bring me around their family for a holiday, no doubt.
Buy a boat and name it after me.
To purchase a home with me." Like you said, those are all of the things that to the average person would signal long-term partnership. This person has plans for me outside of the back shots.
The ripples on the butt.
They got plans for me outside of that. But, this is what we're just talking about. Sometimes some people are just nice and kind, and they know how to do certain things that make people feel good. But intention matters. Because
you don't know ultimately why they're doing it. And that's, like I said, that's the tricky part, because anything could be up for grabs. There used to be a tier. Well, if he's taking you to McDonald's, he don't give a F about you. Or if she's doing this for you, she don't care about you. But now you could be going to Restoration Hardware. You can be going to Nobu. And someone's like, yo, I make $400,000 a year. I put this into my budget. I spend X amount per month on dates. This ain't nothing to me. It's Nobu. I'm just going to see if Nobu is going to be a departure point for me to further the conversation in some cases, or get what I want quicker in some cases. And in a lot of cases, in a majority of cases, I'm leveraging Nobu to get to know you.
Bars. Think about it, son.
Especially horizontally.
We know people who have even gone as far as saying I do as a gesture.
Yeah, and not really. And you've heard people who've been divorced, like, I really didn't want to get married in the first place.
That's what I'm saying.
I figured I can get in and I can get out of it. Or I got into it and then I was playing around on it. I was playing around because to me, just because I'm married doesn't mean I wasn't going to enjoy myself outside, outside of my marriage. So I was going to be in it, but I'm going to enjoy myself outside of it.
Or the goal was to get married, not necessarily be married. For a lot of people, that wedding day is the finish line.
Yeah.
They're not even considering married life outside of that. It's just like, yo, everything we did was to get to this finish line. We said I do. We got past that day. And then it's just like, all right, up for grabs.
But I never told you that if I see a bad one at the job, I'm going to try and holler. I never told you.
I don't even know if they considered that because all of their thoughts was going towards that day. And it's like once they get
in
there,
some cases, yeah. I've heard some people say like, I'm gonna get married, but I'm still going to, run up the numbers. I've heard some people outwardly say that. So
yeah, because it's just a gesture for some
people.
Just
a gesture. It's just a gesture or a gesture with a certain level of understanding. The problem is, did you communicate what you were saying to that person? Or are you keeping it under wraps? And that's the problematic part of it. You can have what you want if you're willing to stand by what you say in a direct and resonant way, meaning you're communicating. I just think a lot of people aren't communicating. They're sitting on their hands and sitting on their words, presenting a character, showing forth the gestures that meet your checklist, only to find out when you pull the curtain back 5, 10, 15 years later, they was never on the same page with you. And you can tell they weren't willing to change to be on the same page with you. And this is one of the issues I'm hearing with some of the women friends that I have, the discovery or the realization that this person was never down for the count. They were just riding with you because you were providing pleasure, you were providing access, and you were providing a safe place to live in some cases. I didn't have a house, you had a house. And so, yeah. We definitely going to be trying to, move to Hong Kong. Why would I move to Hong Kong when you got a spot in Manhattan, a brownstone you inherited, or a condo that you purchased? Why would I be going over there? But I'm going to keep telling you Hong Kong. I'm going to keep selling you Hong Kong. I'm going to keep relating to Hong Kong. I'm going to send you some Instagrams about people who moved to Hong Kong, and we can keep talking about it. But every time it's just, pulling the string.
Yeah, that's part of the character, like you're talking about. It's just part of the performance. I will say for a lot of men I know, we are conditioned to performance. You know what I mean? A lot of times I see dudes doing things where I don't even know if they're considering the actions that they're taking.
Credit cards,
telling these people that they want to be with them and, going on all of these long, elaborate dates and spending all of this time with them. And it's like, yeah, you doing it because it's nice. It's nice to do it. It's nice to make them feel good and for them to be happy. But you haven't really made that call in an election, sure. Because you're not thinking about what these actions are doing to this person. This person has said to you, oh, I really like you. I got these feelings, la, la, la. Whether you believe them or not, if you keep engaging, it's only going to make this feeling stronger. And the stronger those feelings get, it's only going to increase the desire to have more of your time, the demand to be around you more, for you to show up more. Like the more you engage, it's only going to create a desire for more.
Absolutely.
But it's like a lot of these dudes be doing it because they like what they're getting from it. They like the sex that they're getting from it. They like the attention that this woman is getting them. They like the status of, dude, you smashing that. They like that, but they're not.
Well, what she offers.
All of that.
Yeah.
Financially, but they're not considering what's behind all of that. What that's actually pulling out of this other person.
For sure. Because to be suave, debonair, for example, I think a great reference point for both you and I and our generation is James Bond. He, I think, spans right now maybe 3 or 4 generations, but let's say 3 comfortably. And I think that James Bond, for most men, is this guy who's debonair, suave, witty, charming, and of course, a fighter. And how many men are tried to over the years squeeze into that role, that cool role, that witty line. She says something, you say back, you got a repartee going. She's getting turned on because you're obviously showing off your intellect and your charm and the fact you can string words together in a cogent and romantic way. And in reality, that's not who you are. That's who you perform on this date to be. Once you get what you want, whatever it is, because it's not just sex, there's other layers here, and you get comfortable, now, you know what I'm saying, she goes to say something to you. Huh? What? What's that? You doing all that? You went from, basically, oh, yeah? Or do you wear shoes like that all the time? And you laughing and cracking jokes and, doing the 112, Donnell Rawlings, girl, I feel bone coming on, to what? I don't know about that. Why you king of the garbage mouths? It's crazy. It's crazy.
Very
And I think a
crazy.
lot of men are doing that sometimes because, well, I was supposed to perform. I was told I was supposed to perform. When I heard from the older men in my family, they told me this is the kind of man you had to be. I was watching James Bond and studying his moves and how he wrote to women and how he spoke to women. And that was just what I thought I had to be, even though that's not who you truly are. Or you're interested in being 24/7. And it's fine if you on the front end you're this and on the back end you're that. Just communicate, hey, on the front is this and then the back end is that. If you need the this to be on the back end along with the that, let's talk about that. But people will spin that yarn on you, as you like to say.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of us in our experiences have been taught that you got to provide utility to a woman. And a lot of us really don't have that genuine utility that you're talking about. So we perform it.
Yeah.
We perform the strength and act tough. So they think, they'll be protected. We may not have the money. And like I said, people will call you and ask you to borrow so they can take somebody out to look like they're the provider. You know what I mean? It's all of this utility that we've been taught that women need to consider you a viable mate. And it's like, when you don't have it, what do? You perform, you fake it till you make it. Cause that's what society or life tells us that we got to do.
Son, as you're talking, I'm sitting here thinking just about how much I have come to the realization through God's grace and mercy as I mature. A lot of people I don't think want to be in relationships.
Agree.
I don't think a lot of people want to be in committed relationships where they are called upon to serve, where the relationship goes beyond just what I want to what I'm called to do. And I say that because I think this performative piece, this character piece, is people trying to morph themselves into a person that can fit into a scenario or a relationship that someone told them or a group of people told them they're supposed to be in. And you never really wanted to deal with waking up early to make someone's lunch because their day is going to be super hard. You never really wanted to deal with, well, you know what? I just got this payout and bonus in my job and I could easily go get the car I wanted. But your mother says, they're telling the doctors and say your mom needs a little extra home care with some other medical equipment items. Let me just give you that money, then stash the rest in case there's more purchases you have to make in the near future to support your mother.
Yeah.
You saw that in the Kirk Cameron movie Fireproof. He was going to get the boat and he ended up paying for the mother-in-law's items and medical care. But as much as you don't like Kirk Cameron, and the Fireproof movie was really good because it really showed the level of sacrifice that comes with long-term relationships. And I think a lot of people don't want to do it.
Especially when you realize you got something good.
Yeah.
He was willing to make those sacrifices because he was like, nah, I married this woman for a reason.
And I honestly believe too, a lot of people don't want to deal with the person who has a dream and a vision to start a business, grow a business, and sell a business, and what it means for us financially while that business is taking off. Now, when it's finally flying, you flying with it. But sometimes the sewing on the front end, I don't want to do that. And I think a lot of us have to start to contend with or surface and address what we're really prepared to do to actually say, I'm showing up to be in a committed relationship. And I believe much of the performance that you see are people who are just going through the motions of what they're quote unquote supposed to do, as opposed to engaging with themselves to determine what they're called to do and what they ought to do.
There's a lot of that social awkwardness in dating.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know why they're there.
Yeah. It's just they're going off programming, going off communal expectation and convention. A lot of people going off religious expectation and convention. Well, the Bible says, and for those who are Christians or those who are deeply religious and even the Abrahamic religions, you just say, well, I'm not going to get married. And what I'll do is just date. And when I want to have sex, I'll have sex. And maybe I'll get a little experimental, be at the sex club, a couple menage a trois or whatever it is. And, as I begin to age, I'll have my little special friend in my 60s and we'll do what we can in the bedroom as we age. And I'm okay with that. Until, I get placed in a home, my niece and nephew, someone takes care of me and then boom, that's it. And for many people, they see that as a dire life. The people in their community see it as dire. In some communities, it's sinful. Well, I hope you got your menage a trois in because you're about to be menage a trois between a brimstone and some gasoline. You get hit with that and people feel convicted. And so let me squeeze myself into this marriage. And you're a bastard in that marriage. You're cruel. You're inattentive. You're annoying. You're hurtful. And then you add the children to the mix and they feed off that energy, unfortunately, because it's the only energy around to feed off of. And here we go, creating another cycle of judgment, labeling, poor categorization, trauma, harm, because you didn't want to confront what you felt were the pressures coming from your family, from your religious community, and from within yourself. This is why I think the performance piece is, and when I call it entertainment, it's not just entertainment in the sense of, oh, I can't wait to see Blue Streak 3 with Martin Lawrence. No, it's entertainment because you're entertaining your idiosyncrasies. Mm-hmm. You're entertaining yourself to distract yourself from the real work of what you need to you do. So you become your own court jester, where you're always looking at what's happening in front of you in your court, but never paying attention to what's happening in the larger kingdom, because I can be entertained with this relationship and fulfilling other people's roles.
It's hard to look in the mirror and date effectively.
Say that again.
It's hard to look in the mirror and date effectively. Like I think we should actually hold more room for grace for bad dates and for awkwardness, because there's more than the average person would care to admit. We really don't know what we're doing out here.
Yeah.
I mean, as we talked about on the last episode, we consume a lot of dating literature and stories and one sheets and books and not realizing
carousels.
Other people's addictions are being integrated and embedded into our situation, because we're taking insight that they've given us when they were going through their thing. And it's just like we just copy and paste it. And it's before you know it, you're same thing. We're performing someone else. We're using someone else's armor to fight this war. And it's just like, how much time have you really taken to look at yourself in the mirror, to know who you are, and to be able to put that in concert with someone else?
Absolutely. So like I said, in the previous episode with Neil Strauss's The Game, you're more of a caretaker type of dude. You get with a woman, you want to take care of her, you want to serve, you want to drive her around, but maybe you're awkward. You don't know how to get to that stage. You're more of a marathoner, but you're in all these sprint places. And what I mean by sprint places, I'm referring to the idea that comes from the woman who wrote the book Captivate, which is Vanessa. Right now, her name is. Yeah, thank you, Vanessa Edwards. Thank you so much.
Vanessa Van Edwards?
Yes, Vanessa Van Edwards. Thank you so much. Where she talks about, you as a person who is a social individual who wants to work on their social IQ, you have to realize there's certain environments you thrive in.
Mm-hmm.
So some people do well in the club, some people do well in the bar lounge, some people do well at gals, some people do well at coffee shops, depending on what your level of comfort is and how you're wired and what you're willing to work on. Well, it's the same thing. You may be a marathoner, meaning I actually need time to talk to someone, to get to know them and hang out with them. So you're better in the bar lounge or the coffee shop, but you keep going to the club. Why? Because your friends are in the club.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to the club. And you haven't probably had the self-awareness or the analysis yet to say, well, I need to be in someplace else because this isn't working for me. And so then you just keep perpetuating and performing and like Neil Strauss's The Game, trying to, well, I'll go to a pickup artist book now. And all you really need to do is just start slowing down and getting with women and talking to people at a pace that works for who you are and what you're bringing to the table.
Being in environments that help you thrive.
Yeah, but now I'm doing, because I'm sucking at the club, I need to learn how to master the club. And so now Neil Strauss, you coming in with a wig and feather boas, you negging
doing magic tricks.
Yeah, doing magic tricks and trying to go from one club to the next and just performing. And you ain't got it.
Yeah,
and
that's not your ministry.
Yeah, that's not your ministry. Now you could be effective with it, but maybe you'll never become successful. Because to become successful means you have to be yourself. Yeah, you definitely bedded some women. You got some women to come over and you maybe got some freak du jours in that, but you'll never feel peace because you're not being successful, because you're not where you need to be successful.
Yeah. And you're not being genuine to who you and authentic to who you are.
And I think this whole character thing, like I said about entertainment, is distraction. And I think for some men, there's these roles, because that's what's happening now in response to the gender war. We try to slap each other into roles because roles are easy to understand. There are clear lines. We're delineating what you do, what I do, and then everyone feels comfortable. And I think some men do feel the need to be a Renaissance man. I got a great body.
Yeah, a little jack of all trades in a little bit.
I'm intelligent. I can hit the push-ups, the pull-ups. I can go down to Goldman Sachs and still get the money. But I also could talk to this opera. And there are some men like that. There's some men who are well-rounded, well-read, Renaissance men, but a lot of men aren't, for a myriad of reasons: childhood traumas, education system that they were exposed to, and just limitations. A guy who becomes a chess prodigy, spending an inordinate amount of time playing chess, How does he really know about, the early 90s shows like Different World and Married with Children? You want him to be a pop culture savant at the same time. How can you? I spend 8 hours a day on chess, jiu-jitsu, volleyball.
What's a TV?
Yeah, seriously.
I've been playing chess.
I know somebody whose daughter went to Yale, and when the daughter went to Yale, she said one of the things that she was amazed about was the amount of young people, freshmen, who never looked at TV or had no TV in their house. How do you think they got to Yale?
Yeah, with no TV on, just in them books.
In the books?
Yeah.
Working the program they needed to work to join that Ivy League institution. And that's a great person. So they don't know, who Gunna is and how he lost 60 pounds, but they've prepared themselves to go to Yale Law School and enter into a law firm and make some really good money. And you know what? As they start to make money and things start to shift, maybe you can expose them to a couple TV shows and they can become more familiar with some of these pop culture references because you're a pop culture icon, maven and, enthusiast. And then maybe, when Taylor Swift gets married, they could watch the wedding but you got to work with people and you want everybody to be everything. And I think for men, they feel that pressure. Got to have the 6 figures, got to be 6 feet, which interesting study came out that only 14% of the men in the United States are 6 feet and above. You got to have the 6 figures. And God forbid if your tallywhacker ain't 6.
Minimum. They talk about you in the group chat.
Well, you in the group chat, heavy.
Yeah.
Heavy.
Saved as Pinky built, Baby built.
Mr. Micro. Phone. Yeah, you getting
Magic Micro.
Oh, seriously.
Yeah. Magic Micro. Saved in the phone.
Yeah. What about XL? No, there ain't no XL in this one, brother, sister.
Lowercase XL.
Seriously. And I listen, me and you are not women, so we can't talk extensively about them, but I understand where their pressure to be desirable. I just had a conversation with some of my women friends where they were saying one of the things because I asked the question, what is the woman equivalent to a man's desire to have or be known for having a big penis? And
what was the answer?
Beauty. One person said beauty.
Mm-hmm. I can see that.
That the overwhelming emphasis on beauty and trying to be beautiful and be seen as beautiful is probably equivalent to a man's desire to be recognized for having the hammer.
Yeah. Because listen, some of these women know if you're beautiful enough, very little you have to do.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I think that's the number one bias we have as human beings is beauty bias. We've seen it, right? Taller men get paid more. Good-looking people get passes into certain events, venues, opportunities, even in the workplace. So I absolutely agree with that. And it was just interesting, too, about beauty because I think also sometimes what's marketed at you, just like for men, because of a lot of men's overexposure to porn, what's marketed at you?
Yeah.
Having the hammer.
Mm-hmm.
Having the hammer, the theater of porn will seduce you into, maybe if I go to my urologist right now,
pump it up.
What do they have? Off-brand Botox and, enzymes.
Fat transfers.
Enzymes. Fat transfers in your penis, fillers, transfers, you know what I'm saying? You come out carrying your joint like, I know where you come from. I just came from, man, plastic, Now, what were you saying before about Mr. Micro? XL?
Yeah.
I done did Triple XL on this one.
I done did some things. We done made some adjustments now, some tweaks.
Yeah. You at home every night styling your penis because there's nothing but goo in there. Just like, all right, clay face.
Now we about to readjust your insides. You was talking all that mess.
Talk about the clay face of penises. See, you turn your joint into a hammer one day,
right.
Turn it to a spike ball.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a Batman about to come through in the middle of your jerk session. It's over, clay face.
Man.
But, I think for women, the pressure on being beautiful and really being seen as and regarded as a Helena Troy, a woman who launched 1,000 ships. In New York, it'd be a woman who launched 1,000 Thames.
1,000 beef and broccolis.
Yeah, exactly.
Beating the pavement just to come and see.
Yeah, just where is she at?
Yeah, no, that happens too. That, like you said, that pressure is very real. Because even I remember I hadn't seen somebody in a while. We decided to reconnect. This was a really long time ago, but it just came to mind how when we saw each other, I was used to seeing them in very comfortable clothing. We hardly ever dressed up, but she dressed up and she was just like, I wanted to look good for you. But now I'm talking about just the mindset that a lot of women have to think like that. I honestly don't know a lot of dudes that are thinking I need to look good for them. It's like, I want to be presentable. I want to make sure I smell good, but
Little
like you
plaid
said,
shirt, one of
that
these.
that pressure to look
Yeah.
good is that they definitely have it. I mean, it's in their psyche. They're thinking about it.
Sure, for sure. That's why, I mentioned that Amy Schumer joke. I mean, that bit, it's absolutely true. And we often deny the ways, like I said before, to go back to the marketing piece, it's being marketed to women through traditional media, now broadcast media, now social media. Comparisons are real. Comparisons are real. Before it was, don't eat so much. Now it's eat because you need to work out and lift weights. And if you lifting weights, what kind of weight you lifting? Oh, you only doing kettlebells? Or you only doing dumbbells? You doing hydroxy now? Is the new CrossFit? High rocks? And listen, it could be enough to drive you
Insane.
and make you want to holler. Yeah.
And throw up both your hands.
Yeah, seriously, and make you want to holler, because I honestly believe we're missing those deeper conversations about the ways in which our media apparatus is influencing us to a negative extent. We're disconnected to ourselves and connected to other people's ideas of what ourselves should be.
And I was going to say, speaking of social media, how do you think that plays a part in this whole thing? Like, I think people are being more and more conditioned to think about entertainment as opposed to connection. It's not necessarily about, like you said, it's not about service. You very rarely hear people talking about service, forgiveness, grace, creating a peaceful environment, wanting to work things out. It just dating seems to be very contentious.
Yeah, well, I call it the global group chat. Because think about it, people will get on X and grieve out a dating mishap, a dating mistake, something that was outrageous, something that they really didn't like. Sometimes something they did like. And now what was considered private and maybe to a intimate group of friends historically, a dating faux pas or a great date, now goes into this global group chat where we can all, watch, clip,
comment,
screenshot, comment on your date. Even when it's anonymous, someone can be determined like, oh, it must have been either Marquise Randall or James Jenkins who went on the date with this woman. People will sloop that out. They're Sherlock Holmes it out on you.
They will. I'm
talking about they'll go back 2 years. They'll see the tweet and then go back 2 years prior. Well, based on my calculations.
And say, because on her Instagram page, she had pictures where she was hugged up with this person.
Yeah, exactly.
This person was liking them in January. It's like, yo, come on, yo.
Yeah, list of eligible bachelors. And I think that global group chat, while at times comedic, does also think about it's an entertainment value. If you think about it, you go on a date and then you come on your ex and you talk about it, that's entertainment value. So are you doing this now?
You said that before. Dating has become content for a lot of people.
Yeah, it is, right? A way to grieve or talk about, oh, I got stood up again, ghosted, whatever the new trend is, all these new trends that emerge with dating, and people just talk about it and talk about it. So then it becomes, I need something to talk about. I'll give them something to talk about. And publish so that my fans or my friends or my followers can have something to discuss with me. But are you now doing it for the gram? But do it for the Vine. Just do it for the Vine. You doing it for the gram and the clock app? Or are you doing it because you don't have any true safe spaces? And so this global group chat is where you need to be. I just think a lot of people are being seduced into the performative nature of telling their performance, telling their entertainment stories. And that's, so the entertainment's happening now. It's being reinforced with clout, support, comments. Oh yeah, me too. As opposed to, I need to kind of look at patterns that I have that are preventing me from really enjoying my life and seeking out what my calling is for my life.
Like I said, it's hard to look in the mirror and date effectively.
Absolutely. And I think it's supposed to be hard. Just like, certain deadlifts, pull-ups, when you're working out, hard is not a deterrent. Right. It's just a statement of fact. And it's leveraged to make you stronger over time. So just because it's hard doesn't mean you shouldn't be doing it. I've said this to people all the time. Just because something is difficult doesn't mean you should be shying away from it, but you should be contending and aware of the fact that it is difficult and understand how to solve that problem so that you get stronger in the process. It may not ever stop being less difficult. For some people, it will. It'll get easier, and then you find another level of difficulty. But for some people, if it remains difficult, then you find a way to cope, adjust, and most importantly, do one of the things human beings do best, adapt. And that's just my prayer for people, that they would get into their adaptation cycles to figure out better ways of self-awareness and then honestly communication. So you can tell people what you're really going through and who you really are so that you can be known and connected. And if you don't want to be known and be disconnected, that's fine too. but you got to be able to communicate who you truly are, because this entertainment factor is what is creating just a cycle of disaffection among all of us. Because even now, if I was single, and I've heard other married people say this, they said if they were single, they don't know how they would date again because the dating game is too crazy. I got a friend who broke up recently. He's back in the dating game. He's like, yo, the apps weren't what they were 10 years ago.
Yeah. No, they're not.
The crazy stories, the insistence on meetups, the ways in which people are clingy, and at the same time, what I would argue would appear to be emotionally unstable. I think a lot of people are turned off.
Very.
And scared in some cases.
Yeah. And a lot of people are just looking for that entertainment. They aren't necessarily looking to connect, like you said, which is cool. But I think that might be some of the pee that's in the dating pool. You know, you got people in it for different reasons. Some are really trying to look for lifetime partners. Others are really just looking for a weekend partner.
For this time in my life.
Yeah, yeah.
Whatever that time is, today, tomorrow, the weekend, a couple of months, a couple of years. Yeah. But the problem is they'll waste your time in the process. So I guess ending on a hopeful note or a note of reflection, I think about this. And I'm thinking about it even though I'm in a committed relationship. What does it really mean to serve so that I can feel connected? What does it really mean to be connected at a level that allows me to amplify the other person that I'm with? That's what I think about, because obviously I'm at a point where entertainment's a little bit different. And my understanding of my entertainment is different because everyone still at times can be tempted or seduced to distract themselves. But what I really think about a way of the antidote to that poison is always come back to being aware of what you're willing to do to serve that other person and become a better person for yourself first and foremost, and thereby becoming a better person in the relationship.
It's a great place to end.
Yeah. Guys, check us out at Instagram, TikTok, YouTube at Save the Date Now. This has been another episode of Save the Date. Until next time, I'm Heath.
I'm Jamie, y'all.
Take care.
Peace.